I knew that following the 2024 election, things were going to get pretty crazy. Though I didn't imagine they were going to get this bad. We're talking about World War III, the dissolvement of NATO, sending in troops against our own cities, ICE snatching people off the streets en masse without due process. We're at a point in American history that this is not something that will ever be forgotten. There's a strange numbness setting over the United States right now, and it's not chaos, but it's fatigue. It's the kind where outrageous sentiments stop feeling outrageous, and the escalation feels inevitable rather than alarming. When Donald Trump talks about acquiring Greenland, whether it's through pressure, coercion, or negotiation, it sounds suspiciously imperial. Hell, not even suspiciously. I don't even think he's hiding it like he did with Venezuela. He straight up said he's there for the oil. That's their real goal. It's not to actually make things better, to protect against Russia or China. That's all bullshit. We know that. NATO is the only thing that has been preventing World War III up until this point. That imperialist mindset, it doesn't stop at foreign policy. It actually comes home. We've already seen a willingness to frame American cities as hostile territory, places to be liberated or dominated or retaken, like Minneapolis, have repeatedly been used as a rhetorical battleground, a symbol of disorder, an excuse for force, a testing ground for federal intervention. And this is where things start to get really fucking dangerous. The Insurrection Act exists for extreme circumstances, but history shows that once leaders start talking and invoking it, the bar for what counts as insurrection tends to slide. Protests become unrest. Unrest becomes rebellion. Rebellion becomes justification. The concern isn't just the act itself, it's the trajectory. Pressure on cities, federalization of local crises, emergency language that never quite turns off, a normalization of the idea that order matters more than consent. And looming behind all of it is the most unsettling possibility that prolonged emergency becomes a pretext, not just for force, but to delay. Delay of norms, delay of accountability, delay of elections. This is not a uniquely American fear. We've seen this pattern before. In Russia, Vladimir Putin didn't seize power overnight. He consolidated it through crisis. Elections continued, but meaningfully they stopped mattering. No tanks rolled through the capitals, just a quiet shift from temporary measures to permanent authority. That's why comparisons to a Western Putin need to resonate. Not because the systems are identical, but because the logic is familiar. Strongman leadership justified by instability, power framed as protection, opposition painted as existential threat. They wanted to act like those people that voted for Trump, like they kept saying that they were voting against the deep state. This motherfucker is the deep state, is what they don't seem to realize. Those that still support Donald Trump, how the fuck can you live with yourself? How can you look in the mirror? And after seeing what's going on, all the people dying, being deported en masse without justification, being detained even though they're legal citizens, following the law, paying their taxes, people that have lived here for 20 plus fucking years and they get deported because they weren't born here. I mean, it doesn't even matter at this point. Congress, what the fuck are they doing? Donald Trump just rules by mandate. He just snaps his fingers and it happens. Laws be damned. And to think that he won't try and screw over our elections, if you think that's impossible, then you're not really paying attention to what's going on. And also, what's the very dangerous part about this, none of this requires a single illegal act. It only requires enough people to shrug and say, this is just how things are now. Democracy doesn't die screaming. It dies when people argue about whether it's even really happening in the first place. So the question isn't whether America is already an authoritarian state. It's more whether we're willing to recognize how close we are to drifting, and whether we'll still believe elections limits and dissent are non-negotiable. Because one emergency becomes normal, power stops asking for permission. That's just how these things go. And this is where cities like Minneapolis stop being communities and start being symbols. Not places where people live, work, and vote, but cautionary tales, warnings, examples. The message isn't subtle. This is what happens when control slips. Once you frame parts of your own country as internal enemies, the moral groundwork is already laid. Everything after becomes a matter of timing. If unrest can be prolonged, if tensions keep simmering, then extraordinary measures can be justified as reluctant necessity. Curfews become reasonable, troops become stabilizing, federal oversight becomes temporary. And temporary, historically, is the most dangerous word in politics, because emergencies don't need to be permanent to be effective. They just need to be long enough to reshape the norms. This is how elections start to feel negotiable, not canceled outright. That would be too obvious. Instead, delayed, questioned, undermined, cast irresponsible or unsafe under the conditions. Now is not the right time, or maybe we don't need elections, blah, 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 martial law, this and that. I mean, this motherfucker he'll make any excuse he needs, any sort of justification it takes. If you think this man wants to lay down power because an election says so, hell, January 6th already taught us that. He doesn't know how to lose. He doesn't know how to take it. He is fucking dangerous. And I personally find that one of the scariest things about what's going on right now is not that some people support it and cheer it on. It's the fact that many don't even react or understand what's going on in the first place until it's too late. They scroll, they sigh, they say, well, it's just Trump being Trump. As if it normalizes the danger. As if repetition doesn't dull resistance. As if authoritarianism announces itself politely. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes. And right now, the rhyme scheme is getting louder. This isn't about a left versus right. This is about whether power has an expiration date. Whether elections still decide leadership or merely ratify it, whether cities are governed or occupied, whether fear is allowed to outrank consent. Democracy just doesn't vanish in one dramatic moment. It erodes in increments while everyone waits for something bad enough to finally take seriously. Where is that line in the sand? Have we not reached it with Venezuela? Have we not reached it with Greenland? Have we not reached it with the invasion of our own cities? It's still mind-boggling to think that we're only 1 year done. At this point, we've only finished 1 year. 1 year. And so much, it's like he's trying to speed run World War III. But thankfully, even Hitler had a lot of time to plan and get things going, and he failed miserably. And in the modern era where we can communicate with each other, we have the internet, information travels faster than ever before. There is an advantage there. Something big has to happen. And there's no question about that. We cannot sustain this for long. Being in such a pivotal moment in our nation's history, I felt like it was important, even if my channel only reaches 12 people. If this video doesn't get many views, it doesn't fucking matter. I make videos because I want to make them, and this is an opinion I feel that needs to be heard. It's one that I've felt resonated through others, like Chris Valenti, or Secular Talk, or Midas Touch. There's a lot of good coverage out there, but we always need more. I got more to talk about, but I think I'm going to end this one here. So if you've actually listened to this whole video, thank you. And even if you disagree with me, thank you. Because these talks are what matter. So yeah, have a good one.